Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. I'm talking about work in the United Kingdom. If you live in the United Kingdom and you also work or you don't work in the United Kingdom, this information is probably for you if you are in Europe as well as in other continents, including America, perhaps also Asia and Africa. Pay attention and visit online gov.uk where you can get much information about social policy, social functions, and social welfare, including work. If you live in a country like the United Kingdom or any other country around the world, work is a prospect for success. If you work for living, you succeed. If you don't work for living, you fail. A country failing to provide conditions or even opportunities for work in a country is a bad government. And increasingly, with the with the advent of technology, I have mentioned this already. I mention it again. We are a work in progress in terms of a channel. We are growing at a pace. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel. Click like, click notification bell, leave a comment, and if you watch this video, share with family and friends. We talk about many things, but everything we talk about is in relation to life, in relation to how we work, how we do development, how our culture is, and also pointing to our progress. I have repeated this point because it's core to this program so far. I'm excited when I talk about different things. It is going to boil back to progress. And we talk about peace as well. In as much as we talk about employment, work, self-employment, entrepreneurship, investors, in terms of development, we also link this to our culture. Culture being learning and understanding how humanity function, how we exist, valuing people, valuing oneself, valuing one another, valuing other people, respect, and more of the same. And this I have mentioned consistently. It is our roadmap to peace. This message is for politicians, for ordinary citizens of any country, including Britain. Culture, education, about culture, about humanity is the key to success. We do everything in vain, failing to understand our culture, because our culture is about humanity. Humanity is the center of the universe. If we do development, for example, we wrap it around humanity, valuing humanity, and also understanding to value ourselves. People do not commit suicide, they don't kill other people as in homicidal acts. They don't break the law with impunity. They have respect for themselves. They have respect for others. I have stated at the outset to repeat this point over and again. Leave a comment below if you understand or if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, so far so good. Just stay tuned, continue watching, and let me know your thought. We'll talk about work in the United Kingdom. You live outside the UK, you do well to remember that work is of essence. You succeed when you work. Like I said already, like I have always said, and repeating the same over again. And I am so grateful for to YouTube system, and which system we are afraid in modern times to manage work and also managing different factors of society, which we use artificial intelligence. We use different functions, robotics, artificial intelligence. Like I said, we have seen evidence on the roads. We have seen in the air, in terms of transportation. We have seen in every factor of society, and so to speak, it is of opportunity and to talk about things which matter in our society. Work being an example which I speak about, and I speak about pay and fundamental indicating how we finance our livelihood as in the cost of living crisis, among other things. And Little Cromwell, stay tuned. Continue wants to thank you so much for attending today. And as we talk about life, we talk about work, we talk about pay, we talk about sick pay if you're sick and working and you cannot work in terms of capacitation or incapacitation due to work and being unable to work because of sickness. You get paid by law in the United Kingdom and also in another country, as the case may be. And stay tuned, continue watching, let me know what you are thinking. And this is important because work, as it pays in terms of income, is of fundamentals important in the UK, is in its primacy as to a livelihood. Also, we spoke of benefit, which part of the welfare system. I have also argued or perhaps proposed for people to pay attention in terms of employment, in terms of work, as being part and parcel of welfare system, in addition to being economic factor as found in the developmental economy. So stay tuned. Let us have a discussion. Let's have a listening, have a learning, if we may, and visiting gov.uk, visiting all the other websites I mentioned previously in the United Kingdom. If you live in the UK, you live outside the UK, work is common in all the world's continent. All the continent is a global phenomenon. Is what you find in one country, you also find in another country. Thank you so much for paying attention, for this opportunity to discuss this. If you are a young person, if you are an adult, if you are a pensioner, we are all in this together. If you are black or white, if you are rich or poor, male or female, wherever you are, a ruling class, you are a middle or working class, we are all in this together because we talk about peace. Peace is the ultimate intention, the ultimate goal of society, because it is the source of happiness. When we learn our lives, when we learn our values, when we apply respect, if we apply conduct out of knowledge of who we are, then we become proper humans. And impropriety in the context of humanity is the source of all sorts of troubles. This is, to put it mildly, we see wars in the Middle East, we see Ukraine, we see America where there is an election, we see the way politicians speak to one another here in the UK or other parts of the world, and we are a group of people, we are a species going astray. The evidence, the writings on the wall, everything we do seems to blow up in flames. This is because we are losing our humanity. Our culture is the roadmap to where we came as the human species. Today, there are people in power and out of power who look like humans. These people are losing their humanity and they're turning into wild animals. They're extremely so violent. They look like us. They are changing their forms. They're changing their attitude, their capacities. They are so rude. They create problems, false accusations. In one country, certain group of people, certain class of people are picked on. If you're poor, you're black, if you're white, if you're foreign, false accusations on fellow humans. Agitation, people behaving like aliens. The ones losing their humanity looking like sheep in, wearing, looking like sheep when they are actually wolves. They are dressed in sheep clothing, but they are wolves inside. They are aliens looking like humans. They are in power. They are dangerous. The other power, they are dangerous, but the ones in power are more dangerous because they are corrupt and having power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we see lack of peace. We see the Middle East, children murdered in classes, in hospital, and we say that is okay. We pay lip service to peaceful discourses. Violence, treacheries have now become the order of the day, and we suffer. We, the people of the world, are the ones to suffer employment or no employment, technology as well. Being a good thing, technology being a good thing, is descending upon humanity. Taking jobs away. Who needs to work? If the machine can do the work for us, however, if machine doing work for us are managed or owned by people who are not humans, who are corrupted because of their cultural insensibilities, not knowing what is wrong and what is right. We are a community the community in dire straits. We suffer senselessly. We live in a world of lack, alongside excessive abundance in every continent, including in Africa. We live in a world of violence. Children are dying of poverty, of malaria in Africa, strange diseases. Diseases we know not where these diseases come from, which part of the world they come from, and where they are going, where they're coming from, where they are going, where, who, and when, and why, and how. How do we solve this problem? Mpox, monkeypox. And for people who still want to understand whether black people are actually not monkeys, and then poxes, which are monkeypoxes, are not really black poxes. And therefore, if you are from another country, you're foreign to Africa, or you are indigenous to Africa, whether you're black or white, and you discover whatever you discover in Africa or wherever you discover it, you may choose to name certain poxes, mpoxes, as in monkeypoxes, thinking you talk about black people being poxes. I don't know what poxes are. Where do they come from? What kind of species are they? What kind of food do they eat? Do they feed on humans, and who are we? Are we going to talk about vaccination? And what about vaccination? Who are you going to vaccinate, and what for? I mean, why should Africans be vaccinated? Because there is mpox, monkeypox. I mean, are you serious? Mpox, monkeypox, black pox. Therefore, Africans are destined for vaccines. I mean, who created mpox? Who created vaccine? And so, when Africans go through the Malay, the treachery involving Mpox and vaccine, Mpox vaccine, who created Mpox, who created Mpox vaccine, and why do you take it to Africa? Whether in Africa or America or Asia, Europe, we are all in this together. We are a human species. Unless you are an alien, you don't then care for humanity. You're in trouble because your sins will soon find you out. Every human species is called upon to be human again by learning our culture, respect, and more of the same. Mpox or no Mpox, wars or no war, peace or no peace, we, the people, are the ones to answer the questions. Answering the questions on our destinies. Whether we work, whether we don't work, whether we are healthy, whether we're sick, whether mental illness, whether physical illness, we ask questions, we answer questions. We are the people, and so we speak, and the world listens. Talking about work, providing information, support, looking at the laws, looking at the policies written by the governments. In the United Kingdom, in Europe, in America, in every continent of the world, Asia and Africa, we have written laws. We have set obligation. We are instituted rights. At work, out of work, one way or the other, there is a culmination where we pay our dues. And so we live, and so we work, and so we prosper, we prospect, we lead, we bleed, we cry, we laugh, we mourn, we rejoice, we die, we live. And so we speak. And we listen. This program has gone on for close to a year, and we continue to prosper in our own rights, in our own essence. And so we talk about work. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are if you're in the United Kingdom. If you're out of the United Kingdom. Talk about normal wages. We look at ways of being paid. We get paid sick pay. How then do we get paid? We ask questions. Talk about statutory sick pay. At law, statutory sick pay is the pay of sickness. Statutory obligation given by law of the state, passed by every parliament. In the United Kingdom in particular, including England, Wales, and Scotland, Northern Ireland, in the UK, statutory sick pay. Also talk about contractual sick pay, so sickness pay. These are factors designed to help people who need help and work and play. If you're interested, you work for a living, and there are moments your employer refusing to pay your sick pay, and you seek advice. If you're in England, in Northern Ireland, Scotland, in Wales, so if you're late telling your employer you are off sick, you delay, sometimes people are traumatized. Imagine being sick. Imagine having to tell your employer that you are sick. Imagine also being off sick. Failing to tell your employer or telling your employer late, you tell them anyway, but you are late. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Let us go back to looking at fit notes. So you might be fit for work. If your fit note is saying that, healthcare professional can recommend the type of work you might be able to do. For example, they might recommend you don't do any heavy lifting while your back injury is getting better. This is some of the information which I believe is really nonsensical. The law must change. If your employer cannot make the changes, the healthcare professional recommends you should stay off work and you can keep getting statutory sick pay until you are well enough to work. Not necessary, because in practice it doesn't happen. You can be fired from work for being sick, and there is nothing you can do about it because you need a lawyer. And there is no access to justice because the government is not paying legal aid, and the system is so complex. You need a lawyer, and they are not there for people who do not have money. And people who work for a living are people who do not have money, and they do not have access to justice. You need a lawyer, and if you don't have money, you are not going to be able to pay for a lawyer. The shame with healthcare right now, because the public element of healthcare is shut down now. If you go to the hospital and you don't have money, you're not going to get help. There is no doctor for people who do not have money. And the family doctor and the main healthcare, because they are shutting down. Sooner or later, we're going to have private businesses running healthcare for the super rich. This is the truth. And if you are in Britain or elsewhere, you're listening to this, you can keep quiet. It's your life. It is my responsibility to say it. If you think I'm right, leave a comment below. If you think I'm wrong, leave a comment below. Thank you so much. So if you're sick because you are disabled, your employer has a legal duty under the Equality Act to make changes to help you return to work. These are called reasonable adjustments. They may not take place because these employers do not have money. They're small and medium businesses. multimillionaires do not want to spend money on employment. They are shutting it down. So if you are unlucky enough to be sick, you can be asked to leave. I mean, the employers do not have to do this because nobody has any money left to enforce, to at least make employers. You cannot regulate private companies anymore because the public sector has shut down. You can set laws, you can set policy, but if they are not enforceable, then they are useless laws, and that's what's happening. Because they should be enforced by the government, they should be resourced. You cannot resource enforcement of policies like you have just heard me talk about without money. You cannot get money if your political attitude to shut down the public sector. Only the public sector can provide public service, period. Private companies do not. Employment is now being provided by private businesses. The government should set public service, public policy, public system to support employers to provide welfare. Otherwise, welfare and also public services through private companies will not work. And that is what's happening now. That's what I'm talking about. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Talk about reasonable adjustment. If you are disabled, check how to ask your employer to make reasonable adjustment. I don't know what reasonable adjustment is, because you see the word reasonably at law, nobody actually gives the explanation. If you think I'm talking rubbish, leave a comment below. If you think I'm talking sense, nobody knows what is reasonable. So it is a waste of time. So you might have to show your condition is a disability. How are you going to do that? You are not a doctor and you cannot see a doctor because you don't have money to pay for a private doctor. Public doctor is shut down. If you phone your general practitioner, GP, your family doctor now, you may wait on the phone for an hour, for 2 hours, 3 hours. If you leave a message for them to call you back, it's a process. You can 5 hours or even more. You are waiting for them to call you back. You're not talking to a doctor, you're talking to an administrator who will say there is no doctor's appointment. Consistently, if they don't pre-book you with the doctor, then there is no doctor service in the UK. That is what is happening, it's a fact. If you live in the UK, you just pick a phone call and call your doctor, you will wait for an hour or even more before anybody picks up the phone. If they just pick up the phone, they're going to say there's no doctor's appointment. Call us tomorrow. You call them tomorrow in the morning, about 10 o'clock. Or even earlier, if that is their policy, to open earlier for doctor's appointment. Whatever time you call, you will be on the queue for about an hour, 2 hours, or even more. And somebody answers the phone, they are rushing, they are in a rush. They don't only want information for you. They check your identity. They check that more. There is only one answer. We have run out of doctor's appointment. God call us tomorrow, and that's it. There is no doctor's appointment at general practice in the UK. Period. If you think I am not telling the truth, leave a comment below. If you think I'm telling the truth, leave a comment below. Go to your member of parliament and tell them my hospital, my family doctor is shut down. Because without a doctor, you don't get prescription, you don't get medical examination, you don't get proper health assessment. You cannot be supported without a medical doctor. If there is no medical doctor, it doesn't matter how many blood tests you do. It doesn't matter how many health checks you do. The GP keeps sending email, text messages to patients registered with them all the time. Come for medical check. Come for medical check. And then when you go there, you get medical check, and the healthcare assistant will recommend you to get a doctor's appointment. You ask them, can you give health assessment for me? They will say, no, you have to go yourself. When you go yourself, to the reception in the hospital, in the clinic, they are not going to book an appointment for you because they don't pre-book appointment. And they ask you to call us tomorrow morning. You go home, call them tomorrow morning. You wait for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and somebody answers you and say the same thing. There is no doctor's appointment. Please call us tomorrow again. Over and over and over until you give up. And if you don't respond, if they text you message, they keep sending messages and you don't respond, they're going to remove you from their list. They're going to deregister you. That's what happened to people now within the general practitioner, between dentistry, within the health sector. I want to talk about the health sector. Now we are talking about the HMRC, the tax office. We are talking about the Department of Work and Pension in the UK. The same is public sector. What is happening there is no resources. Why? Because the government has decided to shut down the public sector. Why? For political ideology. Public sector bad, private sector bad. If you advocate for public service, you are a socialist and a communist. You advocate for privatization, you are a capitalist and you are a good person. You are more British than somebody who may be poor. Because you see, capitalism is about the few who are the multimillionaires and multimillionaires. And socialism and communism is for the many. People who are 90% of the population who are excluded from the system. This is a reality. A political reality, that's what I've been saying. If you think I'm telling the truth, leave a comment below. If you think no, leave a comment below. Thank you so much. If you have been watching this, if you've been visiting here to talk about this, and I am using information on the government website and on the other website available online to try and discuss the policy, to try and really illustrate it. It is in the UK, but it is also in your country. If you are in Africa, you are in Asia, Europe, America, it's the same. Because of globalization, what happened in the UK, you can ignore it at your own risk. A few who value their lives. If you are still human, every human value their life, you have to really be diligent. You have to be prepared. It is now happening in Africa. Africa still have their land, but the government is now taking their lands in the name of development and giving them to foreigners who are multimillionaires and multimillionaires in whether Russia, China, wherever, India, Europe, wherever. They will be going to Africa to take land away and hold it for reason of power. Because if you cannot enslave somebody, I'm talking about evil. You cannot enslave somebody if they have land, because they have free food, they have free energy from their land. They use firewood, they use even grass to cook. They grow their own food, they're independent, they don't need state. The state try to tax them, but they can hide in the bush. And the government doesn't have enough resources to force people to pay poll tax, or which is a form of slavery also. If you comment below if you think what I'm saying is a reality in your country. If you don't think, leave a comment below also. So, you might have to show your condition is a disability. How are you going to do that? Are you a medical doctor? I mean, you go to the hospital. The hospital will behave as if you are a medical expert. You are going to get help in the hospital. They begin to ask you as if you went to a supermarket and you want to know which grocery you want to buy. You want to buy a fruit or some food or some whatever. It's like you're treating healthcare system as a shop or as a supermarket, as a private whatever. I mean, it's like, okay, I am a sick person. Okay, how sick you are? You tell me how sick you are. You tell me what is wrong with you. This is the doctor speaking to you. You're a patient. The doctor wants you to tell them what is wrong with you. I came to the hospital. I want you to tell me what is wrong. You're the doctor. I'm not. This is not because, you see, we are treated not as patients but as customers. Customers are supposed to know what they want. I want A, B, C, D. Okay, I've got the money. No, we don't have it. You go and get somebody, and then we will give you A, B, C, D. If we want art surgery, you tell us if you need art surgery. What do you take me for? A medical doctor? I came to the hospital. I want you to tell me what the problem is, because they are reluctant because they don't have the money. The government has stopped paying money for frontline services. They only give money to build wealth, infrastructure, and capital. You look at healthcare facilities looking like five-star hotels. Tax offices looking like 5-star hotels. They're empty. Polyclinics in the United Kingdom is empty. You find a few people there, here and there, and you don't know what they are doing there. They're probably coming to do health check, and there is no doctor. There might be doctors. I haven't seen a doctor for so many years. If you depend on public service, I mean, what now people are saying, if you want help in the hospital, you have to get health insurance. If you don't get health insurance, you are done. If you don't fall sick. If you are a Christian, pray. Thank you so much for your help. So let us look at what happens if you are an advisor trying to help people, or if you're looking for advice, and the things you might be looking for. So what happens if an employer doubts that you are having incapacity to work? Why should an employer think you are lying? You work for them. There is no respect for people who work for a living, for poor people, rich people. I mean, these employers are not rich, they said, they are small and medium businesses. But there's an attitude of disrespect for people who are poor in Britain. And in every country, that is actually a cultural failure which should change. You go to your employer, say, I'm sick. They don't believe you. They think you are just playing games. But you see, if there is law which says somebody sick should be given help, they should be given help. Otherwise, don't tell people that sick people get help in Britain when they don't. And now you are in a situation where employer can actually doubt that you are sick. You tell the employer, he begins to doubt you. It's not his job. He should give you help because the government told them you should give them help. These are some of the details I want you to pay attention to. So you would have an employer, and so they say your employer should contact medical services through His Majesty's Revenue and Custom Tax Office. So what happens if your employer doesn't do that? That's the problem, because they are so busy. They don't even have the time, because normally when you talk about employers, especially bigger employers, they rely on members of staff and they are trying to cut costs. They don't have the time. In practice, they may take weeks, and nobody's going to do anything about it. The government is missing in action. The employers can do what they like. The law is in vain. Policies are actually redundant. They're just decoration. So if you want to find detailed guidelines about fit notes, we're still talk about fit notes. And what happens if an employer asks for medical advice through HMRC on government UK? Why do you ask for, I am sick. That is enough. Give me help. The help is not even enough. It's a very tiny help. If you are a human being living in a country like Britain, don't fall sick. Don't be poor. If you don't be in need of work, because the level of paying for work is laughable. It is wrong. It is consistent with abuse. Abusing people who need help. So if you want to return to work, you feel well enough to go back to work before your fit note ends, speak to your employer. They might want you to talk to occupational health first, but I'm going to do that. They are no members of staff. They have no resources. Occupational health may not be there. They may be there, but they may not be able to help because of bureaucracy. There is no funding for these services. These organizations are there as fictions. In fact, they don't exist. They are there to help everybody avoid paying sick pay. And this is the system the government has created to abuse the British people because of ideological reason, because they have shut down the public sector. There is no help. That is the problem. And that is what happens. And you go there, you go here, you go there, you go there. You phone them, they are not answering the phone. These are written just to make the government look good. They are fake materials. So you can usually find your employer's rules on returning to work after sick days in your staff handbook or internet. Yes, you can. But what you want is money. You don't want to keep fighting your employer. You work for a living. You shouldn't tell your employer. I mean, employment industry should not turn into a battlefield for people who are so weak, people who are so poor because of low pay, because of condition of employment. You are made like as if you are a prisoner, as if, you know, because you are poor, you have done something wrong, you are disrespected. Even if you're sick, you're still harassed by your employer, by the government. And this is the truth. I want people to pay attention to this, and they should raise it with their members of parliament for the laws to change, at least the level. See, if you are sick, you should go to the Department of Work and Pension. The Department of Work and Pension should pick a phone, and if they are not happy, they think you are lying because they have no respect for you. Go to the Department of Work and Pension. They talk about fraud. The British people are not thieves. There may be a few rotten apples. You don't just destroy the entire public sector because of fraud. I mean, how many people are committing fraud, and how much money is the government losing through fraud? It doesn't matter. You deal with fraud, but you cannot punish people who are innocent because of some poor people. You cannot abuse poor people. You cannot do that to rich people. You're not going to take somebody's money because another rich person has committed fraud. So the government is going to take money away from every rich person. You don't do that to them. You respect them. Why do you abuse the British people? If you find maybe one or two people are committing fraud, and you assign the entire country into poverty, into into destitution, you prevent them from accessing housing. You accuse them of being dishonest about being homeless. What kind of evil is that? Stay tuned, continue watching.
Some see the original, mighty the god, the magical radical. Hey, representing my magical. Young Jose come million. Lamego wacha, gal defta. Kina teach me kenyo lamego kopa. Gal wacha, kina dame chini kenyo lamego wacha. Gal defta, kina teach me kenyo lamego kopa. Gal defta, kina dame chini kenyo. Gal toje kamele deya, eja kamandeya, we are there for the bed. We have a day, you're my baby. Every day I call you, my door, you're my treasure. Baby, got no machina, yo. Baby, quackana, yo. When it's over to Koda, baby, got the machina. Baby, got your quara. You want to bandana. You must say bandana, you must say bandana. Baby, got no tema, come and quackana. Motema, ganga, quackana. Motema, ganga, put it on my baby. When Motema, ganga, and I call you my lover. Baby, got no chawa, no. Then watch it. Baby, got no chawa.
Talking about statutory sick pay in the United Kingdom. And also, if talking to your employer hasn't got you sick pay, you try to get sick pay. You don't get sick pay. You have been talking to your employer in vain. Sometimes it happens in the United Kingdom. Checking this information also if you are not in the United Kingdom. Checking how to complain to the tax office, His Majesty Revenue and Customs Infrastructure, HMRC, as we all know, living in the United Kingdom. Therefore, your employer must pay you sick pay if you can get it. Sometimes they don't, but it pays to know your rights that they must pay your statutory sick pay if you can get statutory sick pay. So you should always talk to your employer to try to sort out a problem before you take any further action. Sort things out between you and your employer so that you get a grounding, produce a foundation for further action, but in the process, start with your employer. If you cannot agree about your statutory sick pay, you can ask your employer to give you a reason for not giving you statutory sick pay, and ask your employer to give their reason in writing. There is a form to be filled, the form called SSPI, Statutory Sick Pay 1. It's a type of form found on gov.uk. You ask your employer to give you evidence on this form, letting them tell you their reasoning for refusing to pay your statutory sick pay. This being done in writing to provide evidence. If you have need of evidence going forward in the dispute process, like we said, so therefore your employer doesn't give you form statutory sick pay 1, if you don't agree with their reason, the reason of your employer. If you give you a reason and you disagree with it, the employer might refuse to give you statutory sick pay 1 for one reason or another, or if you don't agree with their reasons, sometimes they give you the form you need, statutory sick form 1. This is a process in the dispute between employer and employee. You may disagree with the reasoning of your employer, even though they provided you the right form with reasoning. You may not agree with their reasoning. Therefore, you can complain to the His Majesty Revenue and Customs Office, HMRC. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed. Leave a comment below. Click like, click notification bell. Subscription is free. It takes seconds. Clicking like takes free. It takes seconds. I would say leave a comment. May take longer, but it depends what you want to say. Watching take a lot of time, but if you like the video, if you don't like it, you can still choose to watch. If you don't want to watch it because you're busy or maybe there is another problem, you cannot watch the video, you can share it with family and friends. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. So there are times you may not be sure about anything at all. You can check if you can get such sick pay online. That is where the best place to go. Normally gov.uk in the United Kingdom, you can check in your country to find out your situation in another country, because the reason I say this, because work is very important. Work for a living in the modern society is an opportunity. So if you're late telling your employer you are off sick, if you are off sick, you are supposed to tell your employer that you are off sick. Sometimes you don't tell your employer, you tell them. If you tell them, you're telling them late. What do? What happens? So if you didn't tell your employer you are off sick straight away, it is important to tell them why. You explain to the employer the reason for your being late. It's about communication. It's about developing trust. It's about developing an element of professionalism, of courtesy, of common sense, of good understanding, as we normally do or we sometimes don't do. And so to speak, you tell them why you are late, telling them that you are off sick. Being off sick means you are off work, and your being off work is because of sickness. This may sound common sense, but when we are in a situation of dispute with the employer, we may desire to be as astute as we are effective to communicate with our employers. Thank you so much for coming today, watching my video, and thank you so much. You are so amazing coming this far. You are so amazing. So for example, there may be a situation of your reasoning. For example, you might not have been able to tell them because you are in the hospital, or for one reason or another. Normally, good reason may include when you are in the hospital. People who are sick tend to be in the hospital one way or the other. Being in the hospital is important. If you provide reasoning one way or the other, your employer thinking your reasoning isn't good enough, they can refuse to pay your statistic pay. For the days before you told them, this is as specific as it is important in defining your life as a sick employee of sick, having to resolve this matter with your employer. You are in a situation where you give a reason and it is not satisfactory. Your reasoning to your employer, an employer providing your reasoning as not being good enough, and therefore refusing to pay you statistic pay for the days before you told them. If you told them at a certain point and they will pay you only from the time you told them. And stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below if you have experienced something similar to this. If you haven't experienced anything similar to this, let us know in the commentary box. And some employers are nice, some employers are not very nice, some employers are very, very nice. You pick and choose your employer according to what you get with the territory. What you see, what you meet is what you find, and that is life in the UK, life wherever you are in terms of work, in terms of employment. When you are sick, when you are seeking to be paid statutory sick pay, you watch this video, watch the rest of the video because they are connected. And we spoke about this in different ways. We continue to speak about this in going forward, and every day is a new day. And leave a comment, let us know what your thoughts are in terms of these issues I consider to be of immense importance, and also of immense fundamentality, if that is the correct English words to use. And stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. And therefore, we are looking at if you are not happy with the decision of your employer, and if the employer refuses to pay your statutory sick pay, some people will be extremely happy because their employer refused to pay what they believe they owe because of some technicality in terms of procedures, and therefore you live in you remain in a situation where you risk losing your entitlement, which is also your livelihood, so to speak. And in most situations, a lot of us will be really unhappy with our employers when it appears to be refusing to pay what we believe is rightfully ours under these circumstances, in the form of statutory sick pay. And so we talk about reasoning, and we talk you're not happy with the decision of your employer, then you should contact the HMRC, phone them, and also if you think you are right, they will challenge your employer. If the HMRC, the tax office, and the custom office, and His Majesty Revenue and Custom Office, Revenue and Custom, if I'm correct, it's a form of taxation. Leave a comment below what you think revenue and customs are. I think they are taxes, so we refer to these institutions as tax offices here in the United Kingdom. We call them HMRC, His Majesty Revenue and Customs, and because it is a product of the Crown of the United Kingdom estate. Therefore, you report your employer to the HMRC, and if the HMRC think you are right, then the HMRC will challenge your employer. That will be a very good thing, because the HMRC are marshals. They are far more than you, and they are more authentication in terms of authority, and that would be a step in the right direction in your favor. So far, so good. Stay tuned, continue watching. You will need to contact the HMRC within 6 months of the date you should have started getting statutory sick pay. So you are due to get your statutory sick pay at a particular date. So you need to contact the tax office with, if you have a problem within 6 months of the date you should have started getting sick pay. If you were supposed to start sick pay within 6 months, and within that period from when you should have started your payment, and also during the time you are disputing with your employer, there is a deadline which you will, one way or the other, will need to pay attention, and paying attention also needing to address these matters in a timely frame. As always, we live in a world of deadlines in terms of rules, especially law and procedures, and this is something which is standard. We are actually mindful to live within compliance, and so we try our level best to be within compliance in relation to whether or not we might or might not be able to get sick pay. Stay tuned. Continue watching. We are also talking about to your employer who hasn't got you sick pay, and also if you are talking if talking to your employer hasn't got you sick pay in this situation, what are you going to do? If you try to speak to your employer and this has gotten you nowhere, you haven't been paid any sick pay at all, you spoke to your employer, you spoke to your employer again and again, and that's exactly happening because your aim is to be paid sick pay, and you keep talking to your employer and he doesn't listen, he doesn't pay you sick pay, and so and he hasn't also perhaps not even given you such a sick pay one form in the first instance, or if you don't perhaps also agree with their reasoning, and as always you can complain to the HMRC, Revenue and Customs, as I said previously, but also repeating the same point here, you will need to complain within the 6-month deadline when you should have started getting certain sick pay. You can also check how to complain to the HMRC, and there are processes of complaining to the HMRC which you do well to pay attention and learn also to do. This may be a handful or even time consuming or even stressful, but you see, it is your life, and we are increasingly turning into society where it is helpful for us to take our life into our own hands one way or the other. It being the case that increasingly in the United Kingdom, but also across the globe, the public sector is reducing because of politics, because of policy, attending to those policies, ideological preponderance of thoughts leaning towards shutting down the public sector, aside promoting capitalism, the market system. Like I have said repeatedly, I think I have repeated it many times, and to our credit, also to our benefit, because knowledge is strength, and if we know and we begin to put things in their proper context, sometimes if you say certain things long or short enough, people may or may not understand what you talk about, but when you say it anyway, one way or the other, they will begin to see it happening in evidence. If you go to the hospital, you go to school, you struggle with school meals, you struggle to with the cost of uniform, school uniform, or even clothing for your child, shoes, and school bags, umbrellas, little things like that, pocket money for your kids, and because you don't have enough money left in your balance problem. You are living in debt constantly. You cannot budget within the existing income. Then you begin to, everything, the situation begin to unfold when we say the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and regardless what you think about yourself, perhaps sometimes you think you may or may not be poor. That is irrelevant. What is of matter is that you are able to live a life of normalcy, as opposed to a life of extremity, as we often see in a modern society, especially when we take into account the cost of living, especially the cost of living crisis. The Labour Party is in power, and they have made promises, and the Conservatives were in power. They made promises, but they deliver on their promises in one way or the other. And it is for us to try and really read into their policies and practices and see, to assess the condition of our housing, condition of our healthcare, condition of our welfare, condition of our public transport, employment, whether they are, for example, the retail sector, the size of the retail sector. If you go into the supermarket, for example, you go to the bank, what machine are you using instead of using a human cashier or at the till at the bank, or in the supermarket, or in ordinary stores, or in buses. If you're traveling in buses, are you still using cash or you're using card? And these are the changes in relation to technology also affecting employment. As we mentioned at the outset, stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. Say you are facing an employer who might be obstinate, not really keen on paying you satisfactory pay per se, and so you are in a situation of trying to figure out the best way to complain to the tax office, the HMRC, as such, and under the circumstances, you make sure you ask for an SSP1, a statistic pay one form, before you contact the HMRC. Asking doing so might be you might have to ask it from your employer. Unfortunately, what goes around comes around. Therefore, you should also contact the HMRC statutory payment dispute team. There are different departments, there are different sections, there are different teams. There are statutory pay dispute team, people who deal with dispute to do with statutory pay, which is very convenient structurally, and it is one thing for that structure to obtain, and from time to time there might be complication when you lack resourcing, and the system may or may not work effectively. Stay tuned, continue watching. Let us see to look online about HMRC statutory sickness, statutory payment dispute team. We talk about statutory payment. Mentioned before, statutory refer to laws in its primacy passed by Parliament, as opposed to contractual, which is originating often from employer, which is more civil, other than stately, which is as it is the statutory pay being a stronger recommendation at law in terms of sick pay as such. So you have telephone numbers, you have contact numbers, whether it is from Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. You got it on Friday, 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. All these are formal infrastructure of information which is to be found online. No problems at all there. Awareness is the mother and father of all successes. Therefore, this material provides a commonsensical awareness, which may not be very commonsensical, depending on your experience and your alertness, and also the way you are supported in one way or the other in society. And like I said also previously, you can also have an opportunity to contact a professional sometimes who are more experienced dealing with institutions. Therefore, this information is there. You can also speak to them on the phone, or you just follow the instruction online, as you can find in one place or another. Therefore, your call is likely to be free of charge if you have a phone deal that includes free calls to landlines. You check your the people you have contracts with, and in terms of the cost of telephoning. And stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, and you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, and subscription is free, like I said previously. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your feelings, let me know your experience. If you have experienced a situation of this sort, normally if you are stuck one way or the other, as always you do, because the system pertaining to government institutions and infrastructures are always very complex, and you can also contact an advisor, professional advisors. Like I have said previously, contacting professional advisors is extremely important. However, increasingly professional institution organizations are facing challenges to do with resources, and more there are challenges. Less and less provision of services will be more and more challenging, and the recipients of service will be facing more and more challenges. As such, this is the nature of our modern society, and like I have said repeatedly, this is the result of privatization. Because you see, private companies, as good as they are efficient and effective in providing a quality service, they are by nature not designed to provide public service. Public service is a beast which is contrary to the market, the free market philosophy and precepts, and therefore practices. They run contrary to these principles, because the public sector and public service is to provide help to people who cannot help. We are talking about the market system, which is a type of jungle, which is a type where survivors the ones who are fittest is in survival of the fittest, and so to speak, survival of the fittest in the market zones, as in the marketized system of the economic infrastructure, the system they're at. So you speak about the rich getting richer, the poor, the powerful getting more powerful and more ruthless and more vicious, like wolf, like wild animals. That's what happened in the jungle. They are wild. There is lawlessness. You know, if you are power, you are a law unto yourself, and that is exactly what the market system, especially the one the one involving the corporate system, the corporate empires, if you like. They are very imperial in their approaches, and they have immense power, wealth, and life and death spring forth from their lips. If you play games with multimillionaires and multimillionaires of modern times, they will skin your life. They have access to such powers as never before seen. I don't want to mention names, really. You know these people in America, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, Asia, Africa. They are multi-billionaires with absolute power. They are so powerful that the very mention of their name should make you quake in your boots. And if you interfere and mess with them, they will crush you to pieces. And the government cannot do anything about it. This is the new world order provided by nothing more or less than the system of the privatization, the corporate empires, the monetized economy, where money and power goes hands and gloves. We are in exciting times, and you know we stop by to make commentaries. You know, we live to fight another day. In as much as things are happening within this development sector, we need our culture to moderate our society so that when we access wealth, we become like angels, only second to gods. With the right cultural economy, wealth is the providence of celebration, as opposed to the product of total anarchy and chaos in the absence of our cultural systems. And the dehumanizing of social emperors, imperial champions, multimillionaires and multi-billionaires turning into wild animals, dangerous beasts, totally deprived of humanity, lacking in totality in terms of cultural proficiency. I have said these things, and leave a comment below, let me know how excited or how happy you are listening to this preset, and also this conversation, if you like to call it that way. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. So, you are an advisor, or you're advising yourself, you consider, as always, employers persisting. Sometimes employers persist, refusing whatsoever. It doesn't matter what the authorities do, because some of these people are so powerful. Some of these employers are multi-billionaires. They don't care about government institutions like the tax officers. They still refuse to pay a statistics pay. And this is a sample. Small man versus the big man. The big man refusing to pay the small man. So looking at the top tax office, deciding your fate, failing to get status sick pay, if your employer is still refusing to pay, HMRC will usually pay instead. In other words, if the employer refuses to pay, the HMRC will pay. HMRC will take action against the employer using legal proceedings and fines. Talk about legal proceedings and fines, which means they will take employers to court. And if with court proceedings come fines, so the tax office will begin to act. They will be acting like creditors who are in a creditor debtor situation where the HMRC, the tax office, will pay you the employer statistic pay, which is now become a type of debt, paying the same to the person, to the employer, to the employee who need statistic pay, and now therefore it is between the tax office and the employer to address what has now become a situation of indebtedness, which employer now owes the tax office. The tax office becomes a type of creditor. And if you understand a thing or two about debt, then leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts, and you may allow your employer may be allowed 30 days to appeal before the tax office takes them to court. The tax office may decide to as always, decide to take action, court action, but the employer is allowed 30 days. Again, there is a deadline, allowed 30 days to appeal before the HMRC takes them to court. And stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. And as always, we are stopping this program here. Thank you for coming. Next time we continue talking about work, we continue talking about payments, we talk about sick pay again, and we continue to talk about sick pay, different elements, and we'll talk about money and getting your money after your sick pay runs out. Normally when your sick pay runs out, then there are other options, because the statutory sick pay or contractual sick pay is a temporary measure, and I think it lasts for about probably 9 months. It's a case of checking for the details, because it's a temporary measure. It's a temporary payment. It's about 120 pounds per week, which is not a lot. That is the average, but it can be complemented by other payments from the government, like we discussed a few weeks or months previously about benefits, which are of different types. If you're sick, you can get also 6 days payment, and if you are eligible for is a process in its own right, which you are inclined. If you need money, normally you do. A lot of benefit means tested, even if they are a sick pay, a sickness benefit rather. But some, if you're sick, there are some benefits which are non-means tested. But my criticism of the benefit system is that it is extremely complex. It's as complex as actually trying to get such sick pay from your employer, which is almost like a type of monstrosity in terms of when you are sick, you try to get help. And it appears to me that the government will do well to review these policies, because these things needing the help of the professionals with receding resources from the government will really produce a lot of calamity for the British people, as they are already facing tough times due to changes in terms of employment, in terms of the other sector, the public sector moving from the public to the private, and this will cause traumas in different ways to different people. And thank you so much for coming today. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed before. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts, and click like, click notification bell so that you are alerted to new postings of videos. And watching this material, share with family and family. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.